Another week down, another three-way pod. We like the flow, we like the vibe. Josh seems to really be enjoying the pod after being very apprehensive the first time I asked him to do it. But now this is number three. So how you doing, Josh?
I'm good, man. I like three ways. What can I
There you
say?
go. Nothing wrong with that. And then joining us for a second roundabout is the Risky Dipper who secured the playoff spot. How you doing, Mike?
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yep. So you know the drill. We got 2 weeks left of the regular season, which is kind of hard to believe at this point. The season's
Uh,
flying by so fast. It's already, it's December next week, man. It's nut up or shut up time, and it's been quite fun. So roll right into it here. Just gonna get the screen share going. So got the playoffs up here. We got the Rock Boys in the one spot still. Milkman and the Risky Dipper have secured their playoff positioning as far as clinching. Now, seeding wise, obviously, still a lot of room to change. We have 1 through 7 all within a game of each other. So, Josh, you could lose to straight and be the 7 seed. So, it's anybody's game still, which is really fun.
Yeah.
But points for Josh still gap closes. Bucher had a nice week this week. Got nice to see coming off a couple injuries down week against Josh the week before. And then Mike continues to just get these soft matchups, man. Mike, how do you do that? What's your strategy?
I thought about that today because I was looking at like the points for and points against stuff like that, and I was like, I have no business being up there at this point. I mean, I thought I had a great team going in, but I felt like my team's underperformed just a little bit. But I've some of these teams have just fallen apart and just gotten super lucky on my week.
Yeah, I mean, in your defense, like it's not like you're middle of the pack in scoring. If it like, you know, uh, I have a team that can put up 130 or put up 70. So you kind of ride the variance wave of that. So that
Yeah.
number means something sometimes. But you and Josh are tied with the same record, so does it really matter? Who's to say? But that being
We'll find
said,
out going to the playoffs, that's for sure.
yep, that's all that matters. Getting in the dance. But hopping in here, last week's review. I'm gonna go over my matchup with George here. Nice to see the boys bounce back. Glad Keaton Mitchell ended up not screwing me because I was a little concerned. Obviously, I didn't really need him, but I was curious to see what his performance would be like. And it sucks to see Kittle not do well, but he's been a rock star for me, so can't complain too much. Push the right buttons because the bench didn't do too much. And what's to say about George? 1-11 at this point, still putting out lineups. Just same song, different day. Guys underperform all year. But Mike, thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, look, all your players, for the most part, they all click the right buttons. I'll be honest with you, I was super surprised when I saw that you had Denver's defense in there. I get why you did it. They've been a little bit hot lately as far as were they on a 5 game win streak right now?
Yeah,
Because I actually drafted Denver's defense. I thought they'd be better than they were, and I got rid of them, I think, by week like 2 or 3.
probably when they
If
gave
I
up
remember
70
correctly.
points, probably did
Yeah,
it.
yeah, but I saw that and I was like, oh man, and obviously it was a little bit of an easier matchup because Georgia's team just has not been clicking on all cylinders at all. I mean, Najee Harris is streaky. I mean, for him to put up 11 points, I think that's a solid game. But overall, there's just disappointment up and down on that side, unfortunately. And just not that he did anything wrong, it just wasn't their year. So, but no, I'm glad to see you're starting to get things moving in the right direction, or you have been getting things moving in the right direction. Hopefully, see you in the playoffs.
I would like to be there. It'd be great. Josh?
Yeah. Once you get into the playoffs, I think it's anybody's game. The teams are pretty even. And I would say that Jaden Reed is starting to become more consistent. He's a hot pickup in a lot of the different leagues. Similar to Mike, I drafted him, so to see him do well on your team kind of hurts. But I'm happy for you, man. Happy to see you creep back into the playoffs. Maybe as if you get a couple string of wins. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, no, and yeah, Jaden Reed, I was having a really hard debate with myself uh up to 10 minutes before that kick to get him going. And of course he scores the first touchdown of the game. So instant gratification there. But it was hard to start not to start my man Josh Downs. He's been fantastic this year as a rookie. But yeah, things are looking up and Aaron Jones isn't dead. So that's always exciting as well. But yeah, moving on, Team Bucher versus teammate. This was actually a really exciting matchup last night. I wasn't super like tuned in. That game sucked to watch, so
Yeah.
it was quite probably one of the worst football games I've ever seen. But I didn't realize, this game was as close, and DJ Moore catches that 40-yard catch or whatever to put him in field goal range to win, and that is the difference in this matchup, which I appreciate because kind of slides Nate, one spot down for me even more, and I'm sure Ryan appreciates it as well. But man, I mean, both putting up 140. It's kind of funny to see a 4-8 team, second to last in the league, put up a big number like that. Yeah, just everyone up and down played great. Sucks somebody had to lose this one, but Josh.
Yeah, Dak Prescott is starting to peak, man. He's starting to he did last year. So, he's that solid quarterback play. I think is helping Nick out a lot. And Derrick Henry finally starting to actually put up his projection. That doesn't hurt either. So happy to see Nate lose and help you out a little bit. But I'm not happy that Nick is still moving up the ladder with me and the others.
Yeah, Mike.
Yeah, I agree with as far as what you guys said. I mean, looking at this from a competitive standpoint, obviously I was rooting for Nate to win just to, get him one spot closer to playoffs, keep Team Bucher down a little bit so we didn't have to see him, maybe wouldn't have to see him in the playoffs or put him in contention for being out, because I definitely see his team as a little bit more of a threat. But honestly, I just wanted to see Team Nate win just because we made that trade a couple weeks ago, and I traded him Jared Goff, and I wanted to see Nate be able to get some success off of getting that Goff trade. And he's lost both weeks, so I feel bad for him. I really thought the 1 week I played Goff, he had a great week, and it was the next 3 days later I traded him, and I thought like, hey, this is gonna be a solid pickup for you, and it just hasn't worked out that way.
Yeah, I'll say someone who has had stock in Jared Goff in the past, with especially last year, a couple of years. It's what you get. You'll get the big games, you'll get the shitty games, and he got a lot of garbage time points. But I kind of wanted to wrap on this a little bit because Nate dropped Dak, if I'm correct. So Dak's out here, and ever since Nate dropped him, he's been great. So I'm sure Nate's like, well, shit, kind of sucks to lose my guy. Also, he's probably not trading with you to get Jared Goff, and he's going to keep Bijan Robinson. Not saying Ramondre Stevenson clearly had 20 points, good game, but Bijan, man, I mean, I feel a lot better about Bijan moving forward than I do about Ramondre, simply because of the teams that they're on, where Atlanta is competing for a division championship, where the Patriots are clearly not. But man, Kyren Williams, Jonathan Taylor, and Ramondre still. This team's going to be really, really hard to beat. If this team finds a way in the playoffs and has to play one of the top 2-3 guys, could be an early exit for these top seeds playing this team. And then Bucher, good adjustment to Warren sucked and likely did okay, but good adjustment coming off the guy's injury, and good to see Jalen Waddle have a pulse. But next matchup here, I should say. Disappointing day for the rearview camera, losing to the Tonkat, who gets a much needed win. Decides to put Lawrence and Ridley back in the starting lineup for Tonkat. Worked out. Only if we did it last week, but I digress. Kelsey's been doing average, and nothing really jumps out at the page at me here. Are we concerned about Gus Edwards moving forward? We'll stop there. Gus Edwards moving forward. Do we think Mitchell eats into that more, or do we think Gus is still startable? Either one of you.
I would say personally, Gus Edwards is a low tier flex option at this point with Keaton Mitchell really doing big things in Baltimore. But I mean, if he was in my situation, with my team, I probably would not start him.
Yeah, I mean, go ahead, Josh.
I was gonna say same thing. Just the way we run the ball, it could be any of those players gonna have good games. So I would be hesitant to start him. He'd be a flex for me.
Yeah, and looking at Ryan's bench, Demario Douglas has been a very sneaky fantasy player this year. Rookie, really the one bright spot in the receiving room for the Patriots. Gets a lot of consistent targets from both quarterbacks, so that seems like a decent option. Obviously, Addison was on the bench; he's been really good this year. So Gus was on that auto start like he was last month, but still is probably good for a touchdown in a lot of situations. But going over to Ed, Jahmyr Gibbs back down to earth a little bit. Lamar average day. Rashad White, my man, keeps putting up points. AJ Brown back to reality. So a lot of guys just kind of fell off this high level of play they've been on for the last month and a half. This week in particular, Devonta Smith and Zay Flowers emerged this week. So even more hard decisions for Ed week to week, I think, moving forward as far as who's going to get in the starting lineup. Because if you look at that bench, you got a lot of talent there. Josh, any extra thoughts here?
Yeah, I'm happy to see Tomcat pull it out. I think Ryan is I know he's tired of his team, his bench players performing well on certain weeks. And you see Gabe Davis did really well, but he's on the bench. But he was still able to pull out that win. It's exciting to see how close the teams are, because Ed was second place last week.
Yeah.
One loss puts him at seventh, so it just goes to show you how competitive the teams are. But for this loss for Ed is more so to some of his players just underperforming or not meeting the projections. I mean, I wouldn't think Lamar would get 15 points the way he's played all season, and Breece Hall, especially with them getting Zach Wilson finally benching him, I think he would have played much better. And if those two players meet their projections, he probably wins. So just players underperforming, and Ryan he was able to pull out a win.
Yeah, Mike, close this out.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, obviously, with how the closeness of this league has been, I like to see Tonkat get the win there. Just it helps. Obviously, with me, Josh, and Milkman already being in the playoffs, it kind of just we're playing for who we're going to play for the week one at this point. So I like to see easier players be falling to me. So I'm glad to see that Tonkat got the win there. But really, I mean, it's for Ryan. We got Trevor Lawrence coming back in. Calvin he really stepped it up this week. But again, he's streaky. He's had a good week. He could be trash again next week. We just never know. But I really think the big thing is Ryan put a lot of stock in Davante Adams. And Davante Adams, he was doing horribly with
Jimmy Garoppolo.
No, I was
and
going to
Josh
say
McDaniels.
my man Josh McDaniels there, who I despise. But now that he's out of there, we've been seeing more bounce back weeks from Davante Adams and playing as we expect him to play and getting the points we expect him to get. And it's unfortunate with the whole Gus Edwards, Keaton Mitchell situation. Not that it's great for Baltimore and we're doing fantastic, but it makes that a hard decision because he also had guys like Addison that he could have put there in a flex spot. Even Gabe Davis. I mean, Gabe Davis is he didn't.
Yeah, I think Gabe Davis is probably the most infuriating fantasy player to have.
Yeah, and Ryan, we always gave Purcell a lot of crap saying, you gotta start
Nico Collins.
Gotta start Nico Collins. Ryan's had Gabe Davis on his bench the entire year, and I don't think he's ever started him, and he's been doing pretty decently well.
I'd have a pretty hard time starting a guy that put up 2 zeros, 2 1s, a 4.
Oh, yeah, true.
1, 2, 3.
I guess I haven't really paid it too much close attention, but
so he's like the ultimate Evan. Like if you're just say fuck it, I'm gonna try to win this week on you're out projected by like 20 points. You're just like screw it. I'm gonna put in Gabe Davis. I'm gonna see if he can get me a 20 bomb and get me a win. But he's got to be the most frustrating player to own in fantasy. I gotta assume, but.
Yeah, I would agree. And so, I mean, Ryan just has to do a little more, I guess, homework and work the waiver wire maybe a little bit better, but really there's really nothing on the waiver wire.
No, it's pretty dry at this point.
He really should have tried to do something before the trade deadline to try to beef up that flex spot. But honestly, if you're going to have issues, obviously you got some issues at quarterback, week to week, hit or miss. Calvin really, more misses than hits. But really, if they're going to have an issue, would have to be that flex spot where you kind of overcome that. But I
think he can with this roster. It's just going to take hitting the right buttons and really putting your thought into it because Addison, Davis, Hunt, Kincaid, and Douglas are all maybe not Hunt, but those other 4 you could make a legitimate argument to start at some capacity each week. So it's going to be interesting to see what he does. Looking forward to seeing him try to push for the playoffs. Would be exciting. But Rock Boys, what happened, man? I'll let you take us off here.
Yeah, I think every week that I talk shit, I end up having to eat shit. That's what happened here. I'll be honest, I'm okay with Austin Eckler having a bad week just because the Ravens won. So I'm good with that. But just so we're all on the same page, him not doing well had a lot to do with this loss too. I'm glad Taysom Hill. I feel like Taysom Hill is kind of doing what I thought he'd do. He's gonna continue to put up those average, the 6 or 7 points, which is better than the tight end I have, Logan Thomas. He's so inconsistent, but in the tight end world right now, if you don't have one of those top 3, top 4 tight ends, everybody else is mediocre anyway. So I'm just trying to get someone that can give me some stability. Adam Thielen didn't do well, so he started to trend down in my mind. So you guys might see him on the bench next week just because I'm not feeling good with him. And now that they just got rid of the coach that prioritized him and made him a number one, it'll be interesting to see what their offensive scheme like. So I said this last week, and I feel like I jinxed myself a little bit. Rock Boys isn't feeling so good going into the playoffs, man. Lots of good teams, but it's also exciting. Competition is
well, you also have hung like 175 on somebody, so you shouldn't be too concerned. But now I will say with Taysom Hill, this is a really good time to have him. Michael Thomas is on IR. The Saints have a couple other receivers who are injured right now. So yeah, I mean Olave's in concussion protocol right now, so Taysom Hill is really emerging as a legitimate receiving option right now, and obviously we know what he does in the red zone. Mike is very familiar with Taysom Hill, as heck goes. But yeah, Thielen is a huge concern for me. I think with Marquise Brown and Kyler being back, that helps you a lot. So yeah, I think moving forward, and you have the Cowboys defense who can score 40, and you have Josh Allen who's been balling in fantasy perspective. NFL Josh Allen and fantasy Josh Allen are 2 very different quarterbacks, but that's a conversation for a different day. Moving over to Wyszynski, I'll just wrap on him real quick. Huge week from a lot of nice players. Chuba Hubbard is clearly the guy in there now, and we'll see what the new offense. I think they are going to rely on the run a lot. So I think Chuba and McCaffrey is going to be a really, really solid running back tandem for the playoffs. Flex spot, obviously, I think that was kind of the concern for me with this team beginning of the year. You have Jacoby Myers, who had 17 points this week, but I think the last 2 weeks before that he had like 2. So who are we going to put in there? We'll see. But yeah, Hawkinson, Pittman, Debo, that starting position player there. I don't think you're going to find a better one in fantasy football right now than that. So good for you. Quarterback situation, we'll see. Levis has proven serviceable. If you can put up 145 and your guy puts up 7, I think you're going to be all right. But Mike, any extra thoughts here?
Yeah, I mean, taking a look at Josh's team, I mean, I think everything you guys touched on, was spot on. I mean, Adam Thielen, he would scare me, but you have a lot of really strong players, and I think your team is probably one of the ones that scare me the most. I know we're playing each other, but Alvin Kamara's really coming to his own. We got obviously Austin Eckler, Josh Allen, who've been fantasy studs, and then the Cowboys, who it's just funny because we gave Josh so much crap during draft day and everything like that. And he's first, and I mean, look, I wouldn't have thought the Cowboys would have been the studs that they are, but here we are, 2 weeks left, and he's clinched the playoffs. So that's awesome. But there's going to be a lot of pieces you're going to need to move around moving forward. Like I said, the Adam Thielen thing scares me. Taysom Hill, he's going to have hit or miss weeks, but like Cross touched on, Michael Thomas, Ole, not going to be in the running. Only other person you have to really worry about as far as tight end is Juwan Johnson, but I think that's going to be kind of like a committee situation. So I think you'll be all right there. And then moving over to Wyszynski, I mean, the Will Levis situation, I mean, he just picked the best guy available, and I think it's kind of working out for him right now. But as you said, you got McCaffrey, Debo. Michael Pittman's been awesome this year. He's been a super surprise. I picked him up on my other leagues just towards the end of the draft, and he ended up, I started him every week now.
Well, he was so awful last year. He was supposed to do this last year. But
Right. Then TJ Hawkinson, Wazinski's team, has come up to 7-5, and that team kind of scares me too. He's getting hot right at the right time. So he's gonna be, he's gonna be a strong contender once we get to the playoffs. And even Odell Beckham, I kind of kicked myself in the butt because I'm pretty sure it was this league where I picked OBJ up, and I think I may have had on my bench like a week or
I
two.
know
And
Josh
dropped him.
drafted him.
Yeah.
Did you? Yeah. Okay. So, it was just one of those type of things where we didn't see much out of him, so I didn't really do. I just
Yeah,
dropped
I
it.
mean, this is his
And then
first
he's
down week.
doing,
The 3 weeks before this, he was over 10 points each week. So
yeah, but then he's been having issues with T. Higgins. Miles Sanders is kind of a bust at this point.
for sure.
Jacoby Myers, and so he's as long as the Wuhan Weezer stays healthy, I think he's going to be competitive. He's going to run into issues when he starts to
Yeah.
deal with injuries because he's not very deep.
Yeah, no depth at all. I agree. Yeah, it's that running back through tight end is. I think I'd take that on probably over anybody's in our league right now. Just with how those guys are playing, but as long as San Francisco and Trent Williams stays healthy, they're going to be really really good. But yeah. So the Milkman Ghostbuster with the name change dropping a fat old 157 on Pro Cells Ghost, who put up a respectable 131. Not going to talk about the Ghost team because nothing to talk about. But yeah, no, I mean, great week for Zach here again. This team is, we say it every week, but Stroud probably maybe the pickup of the year. I would say at this point, guy is doing things that has not been done in this league before. Josh Jacobs really has emerged. Antonio Pierce is doing a great job with Las Vegas to get his playmakers the ball. Like you talk about Adams earlier with Ryan and Jacobs here. Those guys are getting targets. Those guys are getting the ball. And that's shockingly, they're winning games. So they didn't this week, obviously, but they looked respectable against the Chiefs. But Jerome Ford, I mean, pretty consistently down the line here. And you didn't even get the 40 piece from Tyreek Hill. So, your boy Mike Evans, hanging out there, putting a hat of a huge week. But just a great week for Zach. Happy to see him doing well. He seems to always really have these high producing teams, but it hasn't taken down a ring just yet. But Mike, what do you have to say about your coworker?
Yeah, no, I mean his team is scary, man. I mean it's another one that's right there with us that I think he has a lot of serious weapons. I mean, the thing that I've been thinking about, I know it'd be a little bit premature, is thinking ahead to the offseason. Like you picked up CJ Stroud off the waiver. Like who's going to be your keeper at this point? I mean, for me, if I was in the Milkman's position, it would be between Tyreek Hill and CJ Stroud. And the only reason I say that is just because you got such great value at CJ Stroud there. I know he's going to be going into, he could be going into a season next year where he might not be in a good situation, but I think the Texans are only going to get better. But taking a look at the rest of his team, I mean, I know obviously I hate Mike Evans. He's making me look like a jackass because he's putting up huge numbers. I still don't have any faith in the guy. But he's been doing well for Zach, and I think just moving into the playoffs with this team, Zach's going to be very dangerous, and I think he's probably going to be one of the top 2 or 3 guys to, not just because of his score, obviously, but just based on how his team is performing, going to be contending for that ring more so than some of the other people that are going to be qualifying for the playoffs.
For sure, Josh.
Yeah. Hey, how does the offseason keeper thing work again? If CJ Stroud, does that mean he loses the pick that he would have drafted him at last year?
My proposal for this, and we can wrap on this a little bit if you'd like. We're going to put a 2-year cap on how many guys on keeping the same guy. I think that's fair. And then if you keep the same guy you kept from the year before, he moves halfway down the draft order. So, for example, Mike kept
Garrett
Wilson this year. Who he picked up in waivers. That was his 16th round pick. So if Mike were to keep him again, it would count as his 8th round pick. Kind of deters you from keeping these same guys over and over. What was your question again, Josh? Or just how it works? Or sorry.
Yeah. So for CJ Stroud, if he said
it would be a 16th round pick because he was a waiver wire pickup.
Damn.
Yeah,
Right.
that's wild, right? So like you got to make
I
a decision. Like Tyreek Hill, I would be like, yeah, I'm keeping Tyreek Hill, but now C.J. Stroud, I might keep C.J. Stroud the last
well,
pick of
so
the
I
draft.
had this debate with myself last year because I picked up Fields halfway through and he was going nuclear all second half last year, but I decided not to keep him. Um, but and obviously, and he's been kind of mediocre this year, all things considered. But yeah, so it's
Well,
definitely a thriving debate because Tyreek Hill would be Zach's first round keeper. That's who he kept last year, but
Right.
hard to say if you're going to be finishing in this back end of the first round draft and guaranteeing yourself Tyreek Hill. It's hard to say no to that, I feel, but that's
Yeah, I agree.
yeah, and I mean the truth is Tyreek Hill could still fall to him depending on how the
fuck ass no, he ain't. Sorry,
Yeah.
but if I have a first round draft pick and Tyreek Hill's on the board, I am taking Tyreek Hill, no questions asked.
Yeah, well, to get back into the mix of things,
Yeah,
Tyreek Hill. I think I read something. He's like on pace to break Calvin Johnson's record, so that's exciting.
he's going
Yeah,
for 2K. He might do it.
yeah, he's been really consistent in the whole season, and ever since he left the Chiefs, and so he's one of the consistent players that Zach has. I don't think some of his folks are consistent, Josh and Jerome Ford, but they played well enough this week to get, I think, the most points in the league based off what we just went through. So they play like this, yeah. Zach's team is that second place is warranted, and whoever has to face him, he might make it to the championship, but yeah. I won't talk about Purcell's ghost because it doesn't exist, right?
It's they ain't in the playoffs, so just
Yeah.
just riding the wave. But yeah, Mike, I sense a little bit of shade there from Josh towards Zach's team. I don't know if you sense that too, but I don't.
Whoa,
You
why
know,
can't you guys always say
look, when you're
no shade, man?
seriously scared of a team and you're threatened by them, you're gonna throw as much shit as possible, try to keep them
That's
down.
there
Thank
you
God.
go. But speaking of
160
potential
points.
shade, Mike, how about you start us here and talk about your really tight matchup here?
Yeah, so I mean, look, I'm going to start off saying, 114 points. It's not a bad number to put up. It's better than what I've put up in the past. But I feel like I need to make some moves. I need to get some pieces moved around in order to be able to make a deep playoff run. Because 114 points is not going to get it done against some of these guys. I beat guys like Tyler, and I would have beaten other teams, but like Ed and things like that. But if I wanted to make a deep playoff run, I got to get more consistent. And, I really need to see more consistency. I feel like I've really missed out on about 25, 30 points between Pat Mahomes, Saquon Barkley, Garrett Wilson, who, he did respectable, but I think you could have gotten a little bit more out of him. And, but just looking at this from a point of, I could have gotten 7 to 12 more points, maybe from each one of those guys. I could have been another, 25, 30 points, and I could have been the 130, 140 mark. But, with all that being said, they're still respectable out of Garrett Wilson this week. I was super pleased with that. And obviously Brandon Ayuk, he's always going to be a top guy. Bijan Robinson, that that ended up really working out for me. I know people gave us a lot of crap when that trade happened, but at the time, looking at Bijan's numbers, they weren't great. But he came off a bye. Looks like they're trying to get some things turned around. They're making a playoff run, so maybe they're going to be utilizing a little more. At least that's what a lot of analysts seem to think. But major disappointment from Saquon and Pat Mahomes. I mean, 20 points is still respectable, but when you're dropping a guy like Pat Mahomes, you want at least nothing less than like
You
20,
want to touch 30 or get
points.
real close to that.
Yeah. So, I got Mike Meyer in there. That is one of the guys that, I just kind of plugged in because Dallas Goedert was injured. But I got a lot to think about going into this coming up week because I think we got the Eagles had a bye already. They played 2 games. Dallas has been injured. So I think not this week, but they're playing the 49ers. If I remember correctly, I think the Eagles are.
Yeah.
Then I think they're going to play Dallas. And I think Dallas Goedert's going to be back for when they play Dallas.
I think he might be back this week, actually. I know he's starting to practice soon. But yeah, so
yeah,
you'll have him for the playoffs is the important
he might be limited. Right. I'm going to have him just in time for the playoffs. So I think it's going to be a major benefit for the team. And then Raheem Mostert, I mean, he still put up big numbers. I mean, he's still that guy. But if he can keep doing what he's doing in Miami, and we can get a couple of these other guys rolling. Saquon's just been so up and down this year. If we can get some more consistency at him, 12 to 15 to 17 point range consistently, that would be fantastic, and my team would be much more dangerous. But looking at Tyler, I hate to see this for him. Like I said before we started recording, I wish it was a closer matchup. I really like Tyler's team in some aspects, but it just didn't work out for him this week, and that's disappointing for him because I know he's trying to make that playoff run. Now he's right down there in the thick of it with you and Ryan and Nate trying to get that last playoff spot, or last two playoff spots. So, it was disappointing, but I'm glad I got the win.
Yeah, Josh.
Yeah, I picked Team Coleman to win last week, and I think it's just because I wanted to see Risky Dipper lose really bad, and I think I let the best of me. But 51 points is really embarrassing.
It's impressive.
Yeah, I think more impressive that he's in 8th place, still in the playoffs, and teams, like yourself and Tongue Cat that'll still try to fight to try to have a position on in the playoffs. So it's impressive that Team Coleman is still hanging in there. His team it's disappointing to see like some of the players like Madison just not really play super well. I feel like Madison was a better back when he was backing up Dalvin
Like
Cook.
Pollard. I think Pollard I think is better, but similar vibe.
Yeah, and looking at Risky Dipper squad, his team had a solid week, even though 113 points won't beat a lot of teams in the league this week. But some players did really well, like Bijan Robinson. So it's good to sort of get in. Some of his players are hitting their groove to get playoff ready. We'll have to see how that goes.
Yeah, you guys hit on a lot of points. I do take an interest in, obviously your running backs are kind of set. You're not going to pull Saquon, and Raheem Mostert's obviously the guy right now. But yeah, I mean, when do we think about, is Christian Watson legitimately warranting a starting spot? Because I think last week he put up 11 or something like that. This week he put up almost 18. So this is 2 weeks in a row now. He did the same kind of thing last year, came on really, really late. For a playoff push. I regretfully traded him in my dynasty league, and I am very sad about it. But nonetheless, I like your team for the playoffs with getting Goddard back and getting there. So if you can get one more win, kind of secure with that like top 4 spot, play one of these. If you don't have to run into Josh or Zach, or these teams trending in the right way, I mean, you have a lot of you should be making some moves towards the semifinals, finals. But if you lose a couple games here, we see how quickly Ed dropped. I
think I'm playing Josh this week, and then I think I'm playing. I can't remember who I'm playing last week.
Well, we'll soon find out. But yeah, and then for Team Coleman, kind of just the yin and yang of this team, because he's put up 160 as well. Just got a whole lot of nothing from a lot of nice names. So Etienne, I think, is the saving grace, or he was the saving grace of this team for like a month straight, getting like 2 touchdowns, 30 points. Tua, obviously, it's got to be a lot better. He had 3 turnovers, so team's going to get well over 100 again soon. But yeah, he opens the door. I think if he wins this week, he's in. If he loses, he's subject to making this really interesting. So
yeah. Actually, I'm playing both of you the next 2 weeks. So.
Oh fuck yeah, let's go.
Crossed and Josh.
All right, well, moving forward here. Oh yeah, I played Mike this week. Oh,
Woo!
Look at that projection, baby. Was that all the teams? Did we talk about everybody?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Just wanted to make sure. All right, 2 weeks left, man. That's crazy. All right. So projection wise,
next week. Mike?
Yep. Yeah, you guys play the final week of the season, which will be for seeding purposes. That'll be fun. But maybe you guys just both sit all your guys and see just play kickers only and see what happens. But no, oh look, you beat me last time. But no, it's I'm gonna say before we start doing picks, I'm gonna count Mike's picks this week. That's one thing I didn't cover. Guess is still up by 2 games. Josh, I used your picks from last week because you went 4-2. Ryan went 3-3. I also went 4-2. So I'm 26-22. Guess is 28-20. Mike was 6-0 last time he did this. So I'm going to give him the floor of the picks. You're welcome to share your picks as well and your thoughts. But as far as the official record keeping goes, it's going to be Mike's picks that are on the board.
Bullshit.
All right. So, I mean, look, I'm excited for my last 2 games of the year. I mean, this is where the boys are going to have to play to get into the playoffs. I mean, if they lose to me and there's another team that wins, it's pretty much game over at that point, unless something crazy happens last week. And then last week, like Matt said, Josh and I are hopefully going to be playing for the number 1 seed, which I'm really looking forward to, unless the milkman comes out of nowhere, which seems like he has, and just takes it for both of us, which I wouldn't be surprised if he does. But, looking at this matchup, I mean, I looked at it a little bit today, this morning. I got Saquon out because the Giants are on a bye. I also have the Raiders are on a bye as well. So the okay backup tight end that I have is now on a bye. So now I'm relying on Conkin from the Jets. So we're gonna see what happens. We're gonna throw shit at the wall and see what sticks. So I don't have a lot of confidence in that at all. But Raheem Mostert moving up there, obviously Bijan Robinson coming over to the team is kind of going to help us. We got Pat Mahomes. He's projected at 20. I think it's going to be a little bit better than that with Green Bay. But Kansas City's offense has been really hit or miss, more miss than hit this year.
I'll tell you this: if the Packers line does what they did to Detroit's line last week, Mahomes is in trouble.
Yeah. I mean, I don't love my matchups this week, but I think really what I want to point out here is that I have a lot of options here at flex, and they're not great options; they're just hard options to make. So I mean, I got Zach Charbonnet in there right now, but I could easily plug Christian Watson in there, or even Brandon Cooks. I mean, Brandon Cooks has had some great weeks. I mean, he had one monster week, and as you said before, Christian Watson. He's coming back into his own, 11 points followed by 17 points. But Zach Charbonnet is taking more of a role over in Seattle. Yeah. So, I mean, I feel like for me right now, I'm trying to debate whether I'm going to start Christian Watson or Zach Charbonnet. I just stuck Charbonnet in there just for the time being, but it's really going to be coming down to how I'm feeling on that day type of thing and how practice go this week if anything changes. But I'm really I'm kind of excited for both of those players to get I would say I'm more excited for Zach Charbonnet to get a shot. I think you drafted him, you dropped him.
I think I did. Because he wasn't getting any touches.
Yeah, he wasn't. And I picked him up at one point, and then I dropped him, and then I picked him back up.
Yeah, this is a great time to have him, obviously. But that Seattle offense has been looking a little rough lately. But
it has. But I'm excited to see what he could do this week with given opportunity to have more of a role with getting more touches. But looking at your team too, I mean. You got Justin Herbert in there, which, he's been doing decent, especially playing New England's defense. I mean, New England's defense, I feel like also has been kind of up and down this year. But
extremely, yeah.
But, you got Aaron Jones in there. Hopefully he's going to do something for you. But he's another guy that's, got question marks. And then you got Chris Olave, if I pronounce his name. Olave. He's questionable. So is he going to start? If he does start, he's going to get a limited amount of touches because of the injury.
Damage. So he's concussion, so he's either full go or he's out. So I'm not too concerned about that. But yeah,
sure. And then you start Denver's defense again. I would have you just because of that. I mean, yeah. I mean, I can see what you're saying there. You got other options, but
yeah,
I would hate to lose to Denver's defense just because I dropped.
My intent is to not play the Broncos defense against Houston, but
right.
We shall see where the wind blows. Josh, thoughts?
Yeah, no, I think Mike summed up really well. I mean, Christian Watson he's starting to emerge. He's starting to peak better. I thought he was going to be just a bust, for whoever drafted him. I drafted him in another league, and I've been pissed off ever since. But he's starting to look, much better. So it's gonna be a hard. I don't think you can go wrong, Mike, but it'll be a hard decision to make. For your squad, how do you say it again?
Takite. Yep, nailed it.
Justin Herbert looks like he has an opportunity to have the best game of the season because New England is trash. So we'll have to see how that pans out. I think he could do better than his projections. I think Patrick Mahomes will do lesser than his projections because, like you said,
Ooh.
Green Bay is playing really well. So that's just my thoughts on the
Yeah.
match key parts
Yeah.
of
So
it.
who are you picking to win, Josh?
Takate boys. I don't want risk game for the rest of the season or the playoffs. And he has me next week too, so I'm hoping he just loses out.
Mike, who's your pick? I know we got
I'm
your house.
I'm
You
gonna
can
have to
pick.
I'm gonna have to take myself.
That's fair. Now I'll just throw some thoughts, just
It's
looking
gonna
at
be
it
close.
objectively. I do prefer my matchups versus yours
I
comparatively.
agree.
That Jets front's tough. Playing against Philly is tough as a receiver. But just doesn't seem like anything really stops that Niners offense right now. So we'll see. I'm really excited for this game. This could be a game where we're rooting for the first team to get to 80 to win this week, or we both could out of nowhere put up 130. So
Yeah.
it could be a wide range of emotion, but I'm gonna ride the dead whale. So obviously, but yeah, so good luck, Mike. I hope we're in a tight one this week.
I think it will be.
All right, so we got Team Nate versus Oh, this is the spicy
Ew.
matchup of the week. Clearly, Team Nate has some rust. Oh man, rough week to have some bye week struggles.
Uh,
Yeah, Jonathan Taylor is doubtful as well. So Achane's gonna is Achane gonna play this week? We'll see. Yeah, this is a bad week for Team Nate to be injured. Really needed that win last night. Now that I'm looking at this, yeah, no, I and Ryan, you know, Ryan's team has underperformed so hard all year under their projections, but I think this is the week they get it done. Uh, I think Cincinnati is just a dead team at this point. So I think Ridley and Lawrence continue to have nice days. Swift, we'll see. He might be touchdown dependent. He does have Demario Douglas in there, and he went with Kareem Hunt. Probably not who I would have picked personally, but based off his bench and everyone being on bye, I don't really think he had a choice. Oh my god, his entire bench was on bye. But yeah, no, just based off of this. So let's say we slide in some sort of tight end, uh, get Jonathan Taylor out of there for Achane if he plays, and get a kicker. So yeah, I mean, this probably ends up being like maybe a 10-point spread in Ryan's favor. But yeah, I'll lean Ryan here. I think his team's kind of moving the right direction. And Nate's just kind of on a killer bye week this week. But Josh.
Yeah, I think Ryan's getting the Mike Kate treatment from that he had last week with the soft matchup. So I think Ryan's matchup this week, he should win this one, and get all the help he needs. Hopefully enough to get him into the playoffs. I think he needs to get to ninth place because
Yep.
the ghost doesn't count, right?
Right.
So that can help him out. I think Team Nate, he can fill those positions, even though those 2 bye weeks, he just. I think there's probably some players on his bench that probably not worth keeping, and that he could just sort of drop in, plug to fill those gaps. So I think regardless, Ryan is his team is positioned to win. So I got Tongue Cat.
Yep. Mike.
I would agree. I mean, there's not really much to say here other than what you guys have already touched base on. Ryan's team, all buys on the bench. So overall, it's going to be an easier week for Ryan. I think he's going to walk away with a win pretty easily. I hate it for Nate because, if you're going to have a tough week like this when you're dealing with an injury and some bye week struggles, you don't want it to be the year when you're trying to have must-win games. So I hate it for Nate, but it might be the opportunity Tomcat needs to sneak into the playoffs.
Yeah, so the loser of this goes to 4-9. What am I, 5-7? Yeah. So they're not technically eliminated, or if I loser of this, yeah, they're not eliminated. If I win, the loser of this game is eliminated though. So could be a potential playoff clinching or busting game. But we're all on Ryan there. So Let's see. Wuhan versus Bucher. This should be an interesting one. No Hawkinson for Wazinski. Nick looks like he set his lineup already. So obviously a couple of Higbee probably slides in. Not much out there on the waivers for tight ends at this point. And figure out that flex. Maybe Higgins is back and makes it easy for him. But I really like the way that Wazinski's team is trending right now with that. We got kind of with those running backs and receivers. Don't Pittman should have a huge day against Tennessee, I think. And McCaffrey just does McCaffrey things every week. So that projection, well, obviously he's got some players out, but put some guys in probably close to like 105. I think that's still kind of low. Indy does not play much defense. Levis is probably going to beat that projection, I think. And then just kind of looking at Bucher real quick. Who knows what you get out of Henry these days. Got some pretty sweet matchups though against Arizona. Seattle's, we're kind of riding high on how the Cowboys are playing at home this year. They're unstoppable at home. So I think both these projections feel a little unfavorable for both these teams. Obviously, Wazinski's I'm going to say is 105, but still low. But I'll lean Bucher here, just solely because I like their individual matchups better than Wuhan's. But it's going to be a really close game, I think.
Yeah, it's. I think it's. This is a much more even matchup than it is like once they both start the plays that they want to start. I hope they both lose. But I can't. We can't get a loss for both of them. So Wuhan's team I think is with other than that quarterback play, I think that's his Achilles heel. I know he was trying to get one at the trade deadline, but because of the quarterback play, I have to lean Bucher on this one.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, look, Bucher's team is if he can stay healthy, like I've said in the past, I mean, it's going to be a dangerous team. You got Dak Prescott who's just putting up insane numbers. Tony Pollard, Derrick Henry at the running back spot, and there's a lot to be excited about there. Wazinski obviously needs to update his roster. But if you can get a big day out of Christian McCaffrey, just as we said before, that running back to
Tight end,
Hawkinson. Tight end minus Hawkinson position. I mean, it wasn't like he's missing a big threat there at flex. I mean, he had OBJ in there, but he can plug somebody else in there fairly easy, I think. Even if it is, Jacoby Myers or somebody like that. Oh, never mind, he's not playing.
If T. Higgins plays, it's probably him. But
yeah, I mean, honestly, I have T. Higgins in another league, and he's just so unpredictable.
Yeah,
it's
he's
scary. But given if T. Higgins can have a big game, I think that Wuhan could probably maybe pull this one out. And I think that I'm going to lean Wuhan with this one.
All right. Yeah, I definitely see a path to victory for Wuhan. Just the part that scares me is playing against Philly defense is something that I don't know how both are going to do well, but we'll see. Buffalo moved the ball on them, so we'll see. But I think Philly's going to be really ready for this game. So those project getting 35 out of those two guys doable, but I just think that Seattle's defense is I really look at the Cowboys because the Cowboys at home this year have been a world beater on offense and defense. So Josh is probably gonna get a good week out of the defense, but yeah, I just like those matchups better. But no, I definitely see a path to a Wuhan victory here for certain, and Nick's team definitely has shown tendency to play a little under some of these games. So we got Purcell's Ghost versus Rearview Camera. This would have been a really exciting matchup if Purcell's Ghost was not a ghost. For the shit talking purposes. Lamar on bye. Brock Purdy's going to get slotted in for Ed here. Kind of like I just talked about. I don't know how I feel about. I know Josh Allen just put up 41, but Josh Allen is a lot different player than Brock Purdy. So, what do we do with this lineup? Yeah, I think I lean the ghost here, just because I don't love Ed's matchup with some of these guys. AJ Brown again. AJ Brown's been a little bit down, and Tank Dell going to Denver or playing against Denver. We'll see. He's been a little bit down comparatively since Nico Collins has been back. He seems to be the kind of the guy. Gibbs at New Orleans, decent defense there. So just kind of a tough matchup week for Ed. I think that the Ghost gets it done. Mike?
I would agree. He's got to slide Lamar out of there just due to buys. And the big thing is the Eagles defense. I mean, they've been doing well as far as like an actual football standpoint, but their fantasy wise, they've been slipping the past couple weeks. I mean, I know Ryan had him and he drafted him and then he dropped him. Ed picked him up and Ed team underperformed last week.
He does have Jets against Atlanta on the bench. I think that might be a decent slot in there, but
yeah. But let's just say with all things, keeping things the way they are, I mean, I think that if he doesn't make that change, it's I think the score is going to be indicative to what it is. And Purcell's ghost has just been popping off, man. It makes me so annoyed that he just left like that when he actually has a decent team. And you have guys like Njoku on your team who's been doing, his thing. But Joe Mixon's been kind of coming into his own, and he's been getting more playtime and more touches just due to the fact that their quarterback situation is not the greatest right now. And Cooper Kupp, Brian Robinson, Keenan Allen, all those guys. But I'm going to lean the same way for Purcell to go, just because it seems that once Purcell leaves, it's when his team starts to win. But it is some tough matchups here for Ed. But hopefully I can make some moves here. Maybe get a guy off a waiver or something like that, or slide in a quarterback and then try to beat Purcell's ghost there. But we'll see what happens.
Yep. Josh?
Yeah, I think Ed's team is going to win. I think the team's going to play much better than you guys think. I think Brock Purdy, he plays really well on the big stage. And them playing the Eagles, I feel like that's going to be the game of the week for the NFL. So I think Brock Purdy is going to probably try to play really well. So this is actually the good week for Lamar to be benched for Ed's team. I think Tank is just him and CJ Stroud are having they're just a good tandem. I think he's going to do well against the Broncos, and they're going to show up for that game too. So I like the matchups that Ed has just from a team wise, and I think his team's going to pull this one out.
Well, I get different wavelength there, but yeah, I mean, Ed's team could easily pop off for 160. But yeah, I just don't see it this week personally. But Josh, lead us off here. You're playing the I'm on a new level of shit.
Yeah, man, I take back my comment about Ryan's matchup. I think I have the soft matchup of the week. So I have this matchup. I thought I had Kate's this week. But two soft matchups this week and next week should be good. Just joking, Kate's. No, I'm happy that I got George this week. I think I don't really think that Georgia's team is built to win any more games this season. So I mean, I don't think there's much more to say. I don't think that there's much chance that Georgia's team's gonna play above what the projections are.
Fair, Mike?
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, I feel like at this point, Georgia's already locked up the first draft pick of next year. Yep. It's pretty much we're just Josh is playing Georgia's ghost at this point.
Yeah, and it is kind of a shame because it was announced that Justin Jefferson is going to be back next week. So if Georgia's in the playoffs, that would be a huge lift. But obviously he is not. Same story, different day. Your projection feels slightly inappropriate, Josh, for how many points you typically put up. But no Josh Allen, so I guess it makes sense. But Jordan Love's been balling. That landslide victory here. We'll see what the Milkman does against Team Coleman. Great tease. Hopefully I can help you out, Josh. But secure that number one overall. But looking at this one, obviously a lot of roster manipulation to go here. Who does Royce Freeman maybe for that second running back spot for Tyler? Between Pierce Gibson and Royce Freeman are my options. Don't like any of that. And then looking at Milkman here, Josh Jacobs out, so Singletary slides up into the starting spot and the defensive kicker.
Johnson.
Yeah, so Tyreek Hill against Washington. I think that's all I need to say and see. So Milkman's going to win just because I think Tyreek Hill's probably going to put up 40 this week, I would think. And CJ Stroud has just been playing some fantastic football. So those two alone are going to probably get him to about 80 points, 75, and cakewalk win here.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, this is going to be another win for the Milkman. Hate to see it for Tyler, but just with the matchups that you know, Tyreek has and some of these other matchups, and once he resets his lineup, gets these guys that are buying under his bench, I mean, I think it's going to be a pretty relatively easy week for the Milkman, just based off of CJ Stroud and Tyreek Hill. They're just unstoppable.
Yeah, Josh.
Yeah, I think I think the Milkman's gonna, once he sets his lineup up, his team is gonna projection be much better for him. I think he's gonna pull out the win. But I think the one interesting matchup that on Coleman's side is the Dolphins playing the Commanders. Tua's had when he's playing well, he against teams like the Commanders, he can put up a lot of points.
Yeah, it's just unfortunate though that Stroud and him are going to match up, and then he has Tyreek Hill to cancel him out as well. Because if Tua's having a good day, Tyreek's having a better day. So yeah, I expect Tua to have a good week for sure.
Yep.
But I will say with Tyler's team, it is a bit unfortunate. He is on the negative receiving end of the Jamar Chase act here with Burrow going down, because obviously Jake Browning is not Joe Burrow. So it's kind of like what you went through with Garrett Wilson, Mike. It makes this elite receiver normal. And he needs Tyreek Hill out of Jamar Chase to, I think, week in, week out, be a top, contending team. And the record is indicative of inconsistent play. Obviously, we saw the score last week, not to keep harping on that, but this team is continuously has put up 150, 160 points. It's just, kind of sucks when your top line guys fall back down to earth and see ETN probably has a good day too. I think Tyler's probably puts up well over 100 here. I just see Milkman really hammered it, and so there it is. Look at the standings one more time. Yeah, that's a lot of moving parts. A lot of 4, 7, and 5 teams. Win guarantees you a playoff spot here. You two and Milkman fighting for that number 1 spot. The tiebreaker is based off of points 4. So Josh, if you end up with the same record as Zach, Mike's gonna have to sweep, and one of you guys will have to lose, because I don't think Mike's gonna catch 8 points, unfortunately, for him. But Milkman, if he has a couple big weeks, could pass you. But if you're the same record, you got about a 70-point buffer. So,
and the Milkman beat me last a couple weeks ago, but if me and Josh already played each other once, I beat you week 2, I think. So it's gonna really be interesting to see that last week game.
Yeah, so that is one thing that we did change from last year, because last year Tyler had a fantastic points 4, but our tiebreaker was head-to-head matchup. So that's how Wazinski got in last year. So this year we're doing it purely off points 4, which I feel like gives a benefit to those teams that have had some bad luck but have a good roster getting in there. So yeah, that's that'll be interesting to see who gets the top spot. Probably end up facing myself, Tyler, or Ryan, I would think. So look out. That's all I can say.
That's why I want the top spot. I have to win out so I can get that easy matchup in the first round.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll see. But yeah, any closing thoughts, guys, on the on this week? It's where's my what's happening? My computer's for being weird. Too much porn.
Good job, Kamish.
Yeah. I look forward to all the exciting things you're going to be voting on in the off season for sure. I think there's going to be a lot of changes that we can make for the better and moving forward. And obviously, I'm sure you've already thought about who we're going to have to replace for ourselves Ghost and how we're going to work that out logistically. But I think moving forward, it's going to be fun.
Yeah, I think to hit on that, I think I already have somebody in mind. Justin, Ryan's brother, expressed interest to me last year about playing fantasy football with us. and I told him we had a full league. So seems like a relatively easy slide in.
Yeah.
He's a cool guy these days, I suppose. But yeah, no, we can definitely talk about it more. But yeah, it's going to be really interesting debating these things to vote on in the off season for sure. We have a lot of things on the docket, so I'll probably have to figure out I'll probably host like a Zoom call and like a forum kind of deal, so I'll express our feelings clearly on a call as opposed to just doing it over text.
Yeah, it's funny because when we started this whole thing off, something popped into my mind like, hey, how are we going to do this for the next off season? Because Chris is good, blah blah blah. I even thought like maybe we should just do like something like a Zoom call. Cause obviously everybody can't meet up, but because then you won't get some of the guys that we all know who those guys are. I'm not going to name names that read the text. Maybe I don't know. I hope they do, but they don't ever respond, and then they're the ones that are complaining that things are unfair during the course of the season when they didn't participate in making the decisions or participate in the votes or whatever. So if we get everybody on a Zoom call, there were people who are forced to actually interact with